The massive silver ship of the Galactic Council hung in Earth's orbit like a gleaming needle against the black cloth of space. Inside, Ambassador Gray adjusted his environmental suit while studying the final reports about this newly discovered civilization. His assistant, Blue, was busy organizing data tablets containing Earth's complete history, cultural notes, and basic diplomatic protocols. "Everything seems normal enough," Blue said, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence as he scrolled through the information. "They have wars, music, art, and something called social media that makes them angry, but they can't stop using." Ambassador Gray nodded, his long fingers tapping against the ship's window as he watched the blue planet spin below. "Remember, Blue, this is a Class 7 civilization. They survived 3 potential extinction events and developed space travel while still fighting among themselves. We must be careful." The landing went smoothly. The humans had prepared a grand welcome in something called New York City, which the aliens found both impressive and chaotic. The human diplomatic team met them with appropriate ceremony, though Ambassador Gray noticed they seemed to be holding back laughter when they saw the environmental suits. "I assure you, our atmosphere is perfectly safe," said the human ambassador, Tom, trying to hide his smile. "But we understand your precautions." The meeting room was large and sunny, with tall windows overlooking the city's forest of buildings. Blue was fascinated by everything, taking readings and making notes about human architecture, clothing, and behaviors. That's when he noticed something orange and fluffy curled up on a windowsill in the warm sunlight. "Ambassador," Blue whispered excitedly, "I found an unknown life form. The scanners didn't pick it up from orbit." His scientific curiosity got the better of his diplomatic training, and he walked closer to investigate. The human officials noticed his interest and tried to warn him. "Ah, that's just Oliver. He's our office." But it was too late. Blue had already extended his scanning probe toward the sleeping creature. Oliver opened one eye, looking deeply offended that someone would dare disturb his nap. In one fluid motion that even the aliens' advanced tracking systems barely registered, Oliver went from sleepy loaf to orange fury. What happened next would be discussed in Galactic Council meetings for decades to come. Oliver, having decided that the strange probe was definitely a toy meant for his entertainment and slash or destruction, launched himself from the windowsill with activated murder mittens extended. Blue, despite having 4 arms and advanced defensive training, stood no chance against the perfectly evolved killing machine that was a slightly grumpy housecat. The room erupted in chaos. The alien delegation pressed themselves against the walls as Oliver chased Blue in circles, batting at the dangling pieces of his environmental suit. Ambassador Gray watched in horror as his assistant was cornered by a creature barely bigger than their standard data tablet. The humans, to everyone's confusion and terror, were doing something strange with their faces and making wheezing sounds. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," Tom managed to say between laughs. "Oliver, no. Bad kitty." Oliver, who like all cats had evolved to be completely immune to human commands, continued his reign of terror until a junior human diplomat shook a small container that made a rattling sound. The effect was immediate. The deadly creature stopped, turned its head, and trotted over to the human as if it hadn't just been terrorizing an alien diplomat. What is that beast?" Ambassador Gray asked, watching in fascination as the now purring Oliver rubbed against the human's legs. This is just a cat," Tom explained, reaching down to scratch Oliver's ears. "Most of us keep them as pets. They're great for reducing stress and keeping our homes free of pests." The alien delegation stared in silence as Oliver rolled over, exposing his fluffy belly. Blue, still shaking, watched in horror as the human diplomat reached down and actually touched the trap clearly designed to maim anyone who dared to approach. "You keep these creatures in your homes?" Ambassador Gray asked slowly, voluntarily. "Oh yes, most of us have at least one," Tom said cheerfully. "In fact, I have 3 at home. Would you like to see some pictures?" That evening, as the alien ship broke orbit at speeds previously thought impossible, Ambassador Gray wrote his first report to the Galactic Council. The subject line read, URGENT, Earth's Deadly Murder Mittens. We may have made a terrible mistake. The classified report appeared on every council member's datapad simultaneously, marked with the highest priority warning the Galactic Council had ever issued. The council chamber, usually filled with the soft murmur of hundreds of species discussing politics, fell into complete silence as they read the document's title, Earth's Companion Predators, a Comprehensive Threat Assessment. High Commander White's hands shook as he scrolled through the report. The images showed these cats in various situations that seemed impossible to believe. In one, a human child slept peacefully while one of the predators lay across their neck. In another, a cat had somehow wedged itself into a container clearly too small for its body, demonstrating their ability to possibly alter their physical form. This can't be accurate, Council Member Green said, her leaf-like appendages trembling. Are we supposed to believe that humans let these creatures walk on their food preparation surfaces? The intelligence is solid, Ambassador Gray replied, still looking somewhat traumatized from his first contact experience. We have countless observations of humans not only allowing this behavior but finding it entertaining. He shuddered as he brought up a holographic recording. The council watched in horror as a cat knocked a glass container off a high surface while maintaining direct eye contact with its human. The human's response was to point a recording device at the cat and make those strange wheezing sounds they called laughter. But surely they must have some way to control these beings, asked Council Member Brown, who came from a species that had evolved from prey animals and was having particular difficulty with the report. Ambassador Gray shook his head slowly. That's the most disturbing part. The cats appear to be completely autonomous. They follow no commands, respect no boundaries, and the humans have simply accepted this as normal. They even have a saying, dogs have owners, cats have staff. The data continued to paint an increasingly terrifying picture. Cats could sleep for 16 hours a day yet maintain perfect killing efficiency. They could navigate in complete darkness, scale vertical surfaces, and squeeze through spaces seemingly too small for their bodies. Most disturbing of all, they hunted and killed things for fun, often leaving their prey as gifts for their human servants. Look at this section, High Commander White said, highlighting a portion of the report. They purr at a frequency that affects brain waves, potentially as some form of mind control. And the humans willingly expose themselves to this. Not only that, Ambassador Gray added, but they seek it out. They claim it's relaxing and therapeutic. We've even discovered entire buildings humans call cat cafes, where they pay money to be surrounded by these creatures. The council chambers erupted in panicked whispers when they reached the section about cat zoomies, random bursts of high-speed activity that could occur without warning, often in the middle of the night. The report included security footage from a human home showing a cat running at full speed at 3 a.m., bouncing off multiple surfaces while the humans slept, completely unconcerned about the predator rampaging through their dwelling. But the most worrying aspect, Ambassador Gray continued, pulling up new data, is their infiltration of human technology. The screen filled with millions of images and videos humans had created of their cats. They managed to dominate something called the Internet. Our analysts estimate that approximately 50% of all human data traffic involves cats in some way. The council sat in stunned silence as they processed this information. These creatures had not only convinced humanity to provide them with food, shelter, and care, but had also achieved a level of cultural dominance that seemed impossible for a non-sentient species. What do they want? Someone finally asked. We don't know, Ambassador Gray admitted. They appear to alternate between demanding attention and violently rejecting it, often within seconds of each other. The humans call this standard cat behavior and accept it without question. High Commander White stood up, his decision made. We need to classify these cats as Class A biological weapons immediately. No species should be able to maintain this level of control over a civilization without some kind of sinister purpose. As if to emphasize his point, a final image appeared on the screen. A tiny kitten, sleeping peacefully on top of what humans called a nuclear launch button. The human operators had placed a sign next to it reading, "Do not disturb. Mr. Whiskers is napping," rather than attempt to move the creature. The motion to classify Earth's cats as weapons of mass destruction passed unanimously. It was also agreed that all future diplomatic missions to Earth would include emergency supplies of something called catnip as a peace offering. The cargo ship Star Runner was making its regular supply run between Earth and the outer colonies when Captain Red noticed something odd in the ship's logs. The life support systems were showing usage patterns for one more life form than their official crew count. "Probably just a sensor glitch," he muttered, his 3 antennae twitching in mild annoyance. The crew had been warned about Earth's strange effects on their equipment. Still, protocol demanded he investigate. The ship's security officer, Purple, accompanied him on his inspection rounds. They had just finished checking the cargo holds when they heard a soft sound from inside a large empty shipping container. It sounded suspiciously like meow. Purple's exoskeleton turned a lighter shade with fear. "Captain, that sounded like." "Impossible," Red said quickly, though his antennae were now flat against his head. "The Earthport authorities have strict quarantine procedures for those creatures. There's no way one could have." A small black and white face peeked out of the box, Whiskers twitching with interest at the 2 aliens frozen in terror before it. Mr. Whiskers, who had managed to sneak aboard while the crew was loading boxes of human snack foods, decided these strange beings looked like they would make excellent entertainment. What followed was 15 minutes of absolute chaos. Mr. Whiskers, delighted to have found new people to play with, chased Purple down the corridor, while Red frantically tried to contact Earthport Control. The cat's ability to appear simultaneously in multiple locations, or so it seemed to the panicked crew, caused 3 security officers to lock themselves in the ship's pantry. By the time Red managed to establish communication with Earth, Mr. Whiskers had claimed the ship's bridge as his new favorite box. The cat lay sprawled across the main control console, occasionally batting at the holographic displays just to watch them flicker. "What do you mean we should just let him have it?" Red asked incredulously, speaking to the Earthport Authority through the backup communications system in the cargo hold. "That's the bridge of a Class 4 starship." The human on the other end of the call tried not to smile. "Well, you see, once a cat claims a box, and cats consider any enclosed space a box, there's really no negotiating. He'll leave when he wants to. But we have a schedule to keep. Surely there must be some way to remove it." Red's voice dropped to a whisper on the last word, afraid the creature might hear him. "You could try opening a pouch of treats in another room," the human suggested. "But honestly, that only works about 60% of the time. The other 40%, they just meow until you bring the treats to them." The situation got more complicated when Mr. Whiskers discovered that the captain's chair could spin. The entire crew watched in helpless horror through the security feeds as their bridge was commandeered by a small fuzzy creature batting at the chair controls with obvious glee. "Look," the human said patiently, "just send us your coordinates. We'll dispatch a specialist to help retrieve him. Though I should warn you, he's technically employed by Mr. Whiskers, not us. We find it's better for everyone's dignity if we just pretend we're in charge." The specialist turned out to be a human carrying what he called a cat carrier, and something that crinkled loudly when shaken. The crew watched in amazement as he walked onto the bridge, completely unconcerned about the deadly predator that had taken over their ship. Mr. Whiskers, recognizing the sound of his favorite treats, casually stretched, yawned, and walked into the carrier, as if it had been his plan all along. The entire crew stared in disbelief. "Sorry about the trouble," the specialist said cheerfully. "He just loves adventures. Did he at least catch any space mice while he was here?" Red's antennae drooped in confusion. "Space Mice. You know, just in case you had any pests on board. Cats are excellent at pest control. That's how this whole arrangement started back on Earth. You see, they moved in, killed the mice, and never left. Been running things ever since. As the specialist carried Mr. Whiskers off the ship, the cat looked back at the crew with an expression that clearly said, "I'll remember this ship." Red immediately filed a request to have their regular route changed to avoid Earth entirely. The incident report filed with the Galactic Council that day added a new warning to all shipping manifestos. Check all boxes, containers, and enclosed spaces for Earth's murder mittens before departure. If found, do not attempt removal without certified human handler. Resistance is futile. The Earth Embassy on the Galactic Council's central planet was causing quite a stir. Not because of its architecture, which was fairly standard, or its human staff, who had proven to be surprisingly reasonable despite their species' reputation. No, what had the entire diplomatic community buzzing was the embassy's newest staff member, Ambassador Boots. Ambassador Boots was a large tuxedo cat who had been officially registered as the embassy's chief morale officer. The humans had included his credentials in their diplomatic paperwork with a completely straight face, as if it were perfectly normal to give a military rank to a creature that spent most of its time sleeping in sunbeams. The Peace Summit was meant to resolve a trade dispute between three of the galaxy's most aggressive species. The humans had offered their embassy as neutral ground, and surprisingly, all parties had agreed. What they didn't know was that Ambassador Boots had recently claimed the conference room's highest shelf as his new napping spot. As the delegates filed in, Boots opened one eye to observe them. The sight of the deadly Earth predator caused an immediate freeze response in all the alien representatives. Their cultural briefings had been very clear about not making any sudden moves around Earth's murder mittens. "Please, be seated," the human diplomat, Mike, said calmly, as if there wasn't a lethal predator lounging above their heads. "Ambassador Boots is just here to observe." The alien sat down stiffly, their eyes never leaving the cat. Boots, enjoying being the center of attention, began his usual morning cleaning routine. The delegates watched in horror as he demonstrated his impressive flexibility. The trade negotiations had barely begun when Boots decided it was time for his favorite activity, gravity testing. With deliberate slowness, he extended one paw toward a decorative vase near the edge of the shelf. "Ambassador Boots," Mike said without looking up from his notes. "Please don't." Boots, like all cats throughout history, took this as a direct challenge. He gave the vase a gentle tap, sending it toward the edge. The alien delegates held their breath. The vase teetered on the brink of disaster. Boots watched it with scientific interest, then gave it one final push. The resulting crash made all three alien species simultaneously activate their defense mechanisms. One delegation turned invisible, another released a cloud of ink, and the third simply fainted. Through it all, Boots maintained direct eye contact with Mike, his expression clearly saying, "And I'll do it again." "My sincerest apologies," Mike said, trying to help the aliens recover while simultaneously signaling an aide to clean up the mess. Ambassador Boots sometimes likes to demonstrate Earth's mastery over gravity. The aliens, who had no way of knowing this was just normal cat behavior, interpreted this as a calculated show of Earth's power. After all, what kind of civilization could be so confident that they would let their military officers deliberately break things during peace talks? "We accept all trade terms," the leader of the first delegation said quickly, still partially invisible. "Yes, absolutely. No negotiations needed," added the second, wiping ink from their tentacles. "The terms are most generous," said the third, who had just regained consciousness. Boots, satisfied with the chaos he had caused, jumped down from his shelf and landed silently on the conference table. All three delegations pushed their chairs back in terror. The cat ignored them completely, walked across their important documents with muddy paw prints, and settled himself in a patch of sunlight right in the middle of the trade agreement. "Well," Mike said brightly, "shall we sign the papers?" Once Ambassador Boots gets comfortable, it's best not to disturb him. The trade agreement was signed in record time, with all parties agreeing to terms far more generous than Earth had initially hoped for. As the delegates hurried out, Boots rolled over and showed his belly, a move that the aliens interpreted as a victory display, but was actually just a trap for unwary humans. That evening, the Galactic Council received 3 urgent messages requesting immediate trade alliances with Earth. The Council also updated their diplomatic guidelines to include a new rule. In the presence of a cat, assume all human actions are deliberate displays of power. Do not question why they let the creatures knock things over. Do not ask why they talk to them, as if they understand. And above all, do not touch the belly, no matter how fluffy and inviting it looks. The Galactic Council's Special Research Division had spent 6 months studying Earth's cats, and their findings were causing mass panic throughout the galaxy. Their latest report, titled "The Terrifying Truth About Murder Mittens," was spreading faster than a cat chasing a red dot. In a secure underground bunker, lead researcher Yellow presented the findings to a select group of military commanders. His hand shook as he pulled up the first holographic display. "As you can see," he said, pointing to a diagram of a sleeping cat, "these creatures can sleep for 16 hours a day, yet maintain perfect killing efficiency. We still don't know how they do it." The image shifted to show a cat suddenly waking up and catching a fly in midair without even looking at it. General Orange raised one of his eyebrows. "Perhaps they're not actually sleeping." "That's what we thought at first," Yellow replied. "But our scans show they are genuinely asleep. They just somehow maintain combat readiness even while dreaming about chasing space mice." The next image showed a cat walking along a narrow railing. "Their balance defies our understanding of physics," Yellow continued. "Watch this." The video displayed a cat falling from a height, twisting in seemingly impossible ways, then landing perfectly on its feet. They can manipulate their bodies in ways that should break every bone they have. We think they might be able to partially ignore gravity. The room grew tenser as Yellow moved to the next topic. "Now, this is where it gets really concerning. We've confirmed that cats can, indeed, purr at frequencies that alter brain chemistry. The humans claim it's therapeutic, but we believe it might be a sophisticated form of mind control." He played an audio recording of purring. 3 junior officers immediately fell into a relaxed state, and one started making the human awe sound. The recording was quickly stopped. "As you can see, even members of other species are susceptible," Yellow said, making a note to requisition better mental defense training for their officers. The presentation continued with more disturbing revelations. Cats could detect movement through solid walls, predict earthquakes, and somehow teleport to the kitchen at the mere thought of food being prepared. They could also materialize instantly when any human opened a book or tried to work on a computer. But their most terrifying ability, Yellow said, pulling up a night vision recording, is what humans call zoomies. Watch. The video showed a peaceful house at night. Suddenly, a cat started running at impossible speeds, bouncing off walls, racing across furniture, and appearing to exist in multiple places simultaneously. The humans in the house slept through the entire incident, as if it were completely normal. "How do the humans defend against these nighttime attacks?" General Orange asked. "They don't," Yellow replied grimly. "They just accept it. Some even find it amusing." The final part of the presentation focused on what the researchers called liquid cat theory. Yellow showed multiple images of cats fitting into containers that should have been physically too small for them. "We believe they can alter their state of matter at will," he explained, showing a cat flowing under a door like water. "They appear to be solid most of the time, but can become liquid or even partially gaseous when it suits them." One of the commanders raised a trembling hand. "But surely they must have some weakness." Yellow nodded and pulled up a final image. "They do have one known vulnerability. When exposed to this red dot, they become completely fixated on capturing it, even though they must know it's impossible to catch. We believe this might be the key to their species' obsession with conquest. They're compelled to chase and attempt to capture anything that runs away from them. The briefing room fell silent as everyone processed this information. Finally, General Orange spoke up. "So you're telling me that Earth has billions of creatures that can ignore physics, control minds, predict disasters, teleport at will, and possibly change their physical form, and they just let them sleep on their faces?" "Yes, sir," Yellow replied. "The humans appear to have reached some sort of agreement with them. They provide food, comfortable sleeping spots, and boxes of all sizes. And in return, the cats. Well, we're not entirely sure what the cats provide. They seem to do whatever they want, and the humans thank them for it." The meeting ended with a new classified directive. All spacecraft were to be equipped with emergency cat toys, and the red dot theory was to be developed into a possible defense system. However, one brave officer pointed out that developing weapons against cats might just make them more interested in attacking. The directive was quickly amended to include only defensive measures, like cardboard boxes and treats. After all, it was better to appease Earth's murder mittens than risk making them actually try to take over the galaxy. The alien anthropology team had been living among humans for 3 months now, trying to understand the complex relationship between Earth's dominant species and their feline overlords. Their latest report to the Galactic Council was causing even more confusion than their previous findings. Professor Green sat in her observation pod outside a human dwelling, watching through special cameras as the daily ritual unfolded inside. The human was trying to work on something called a laptop, while a large gray cat named Luna repeatedly walked across the keyboard. "Subject appears to be under some form of mind control," Green dictated into her recorder. Despite the cat clearly disrupting their work, the human responds by speaking to it in a high-pitched voice and occasionally kissing its head. This behavior makes no logical sense. Her assistant, Blue, was monitoring another human home where an orange cat had decided to attack its human's feet under the blanket. Instead of retaliating, the human was making those strange laughing sounds and calling it a silly little hunter. Most disturbing, Blue noted in his own report, the humans appear to enjoy being randomly attacked. They even encourage this behavior by dangling strings and small toys, deliberately training their attackers to be more efficient hunters. The research team's most baffling discovery came when they observed the morning ritual humans called trying to use the bathroom in peace. Every human household showed the same pattern. The moment a human entered the bathroom, any cats in the vicinity would immediately demand entrance. "We have confirmed that Earth's cats hold some sort of religious significance in bathroom ceremonies," Green wrote in her notes. "Humans are required to leave the door open or face the consequences of tiny paws reaching under the door and loud ritual cries." The team was particularly disturbed by what they termed the gift-giving ceremony. They watched in horror as cats brought dead or half-dead creatures to their humans, clearly as some sort of tribute or warning. The humans' reactions were incomprehensible. They simultaneously expressed disgust and praise, often thanking the cat while quickly disposing of the offering. The exchange of hunting trophies appears to be a crucial part of their social contract, Blue observed. Though the humans seem conflicted about proper gift etiquette, further study is needed. One afternoon, the team witnessed what they believed to be a demonstration of the cat's true power. A human child had fallen and hurt their knee. Before the parent could react, their black cat appeared from nowhere, lay down next to the crying child, and started purring. The child immediately calmed down. "The cats appear to have healing abilities," Green reported excitedly. "They know exactly when their humans are upset and deploy their purring frequency with surgical precision. This suggests a level of emotional intelligence that borders on telepathy." The researchers were also baffled by the humans' acceptance of being used as furniture. They watched as people would sit perfectly still for hours if a cat fell asleep on them, whispering, "I guess I live here now," instead of moving the creature. "We've documented numerous cases of humans experiencing physical discomfort, hunger, and full bladders, yet refusing to disturb a sleeping cat," Blue wrote, "When questioned about this behavior, they simply show us pictures of the sleeping cat and say, 'But look how cute.' We still don't understand how this justifies their self-imposed imprisonment." The team's final conclusion was both simple and terrifying. Earth's cats have achieved something no other species in the galaxy has managed: complete domination without the need for force. They have convinced humans to serve them willingly, even enthusiastically. The humans work all day to buy special food, toys, and furniture for their cats, while the cats contribute nothing to the household economy except their presence, which the humans insist is more than enough. In their summary to the Galactic Council, the research team recommended that all diplomatic personnel be required to watch something called cat videos before visiting Earth. Understanding these videos appears to be crucial to understanding human culture, Green explained. The humans spend billions of hours watching and sharing these recordings of cats doing literally anything. We believe this might be a form of mandatory cultural indoctrination, though the humans claim they watch them because they're cute and funny. The Council immediately classified cat videos as potential psychological warfare tools. However, they couldn't help but notice that even hardened military officers would smile when shown a video of a kitten trying to catch its own tail. Perhaps they worried Earth's feline mind control was already spreading through the galaxy. 6 months after Earth's cats had been officially classified as weapons of mass destruction, the galaxy had changed in ways nobody could have predicted. Every spaceship captain now kept an emergency supply of cat treats in their cargo hold. Diplomatic stations had installed mandatory scratching posts. The sale of red laser pointers was strictly regulated by galactic law. But most surprisingly, Earth had become the most peaceful and well-protected planet in the known universe. No species dared to cause trouble when every human household contained at least one of these legendary murder mittens. The Galactic Council's main chamber had undergone significant renovations. Every delegate's chair now had a small box attached to it, following an incident where an Earth representative's cat had claimed the council leader's seat and refused to move for 3 days. The council had eventually just conducted their meetings around the sleeping cat. On this particular day, the council was discussing new trade regulations when an alarm sounded throughout the station. A hostile species from the Outer Rim, who hadn't gotten the memo about Earth's special status, had decided to try their luck at invading the human planet. The council rushed to the emergency chamber to watch the situation unfold. On the main screen, they could see the invasion fleet approaching Earth. Ambassador Tom, Earth's representative, seemed surprisingly calm about the whole thing. "Shouldn't we scramble our defense forces?" asked Council Leader White, his antennae twitching nervously. "Oh, that won't be necessary," Tom said, checking his phone. "It's 3 a.m. on Earth right now." The alien council members looked at each other in confusion. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Well," Tom explained, pulling up a live feed from Earth, "that's when the cats have their zoomies." The council watched in amazement as every cat on Earth simultaneously decided it was time for their nightly cosmic rampage. Millions of cats zooming around at impossible speeds created an energy field that the invasion fleet's sensors couldn't penetrate. 3 ships crashed into each other, trying to avoid what their computers identified as simultaneously existing and non-existing objects moving at infinite speed. The invasion fleet's commander, watching cats seemingly defy physics all over the planet, decided that any species who could live with such reality-bending creatures must be too powerful to challenge. The fleet retreated at maximum speed, sending out warnings to everyone they met about the physics-defying horrors that protected Earth. Back in the council chamber, Tom was filling out the incident report when his cat, who had somehow sneaked aboard the station despite all security measures, knocked his pen off the table. "Thank you, Professor Whiskers," he said without missing a beat, pulling out another pen. The cat knocked that one off too. The council members watched this exchange with a mixture of terror and fascination. "How do you stay so calm?" one of them finally asked. "That creature could easily end your life, yet you let it knock things off your table." Tom smiled, pulling out a third pen. "You know, Cats actually taught humans one of our most important lessons. Sometimes the best way to deal with a superior force is to accept it, adapt to it, and ultimately befriend it. Sure, they knock things over and wake us up at 3 a.m., but they also purr us to sleep and comfort us when we're sad. It's a pretty good deal. As if to prove his point, Professor Whiskers finished knocking all writing implements off the table, then curled up in Tom's lap and started purring. 3 council members immediately felt an overwhelming urge to take a nap. The council ended up passing a new resolution that day. Earth's cats were officially recognized as the galaxy's most effective peacekeeping force, even though they couldn't care less about the honor. The resolution included provisions for establishing cat caves on major diplomatic stations and required all species to learn proper cat etiquette. A week later, the Galactic Council received its first official cat diplomat, a tiny kitten who had wandered into the chamber and decided the council leader's podium was a good place for a bath. Nobody dared to object when the kitten fell asleep there, forcing the council to conduct all official business in whispers to avoid waking it. And so, a new era of peace descended upon the galaxy, maintained by creatures who spent most of their time sleeping in sunbeams and knocking things off tables. The humans just smiled, knowing that their little murder mittens had once again landed on their feet, this time on a galactic scale.